I kind of have two screens pulled up so I can show the work and type in at the same time. So just going through, if you have any questions, if there are problems you didn't get all the way correct, make sure you're watching through or fast forwarding through the video to get those answers. Because I have my screen set up a little bit different, so I could fit both of these on here, you might notice that this formatting looks slightly different. It all just depends on your size of your monitor, right? The more I sort of change this, the more it sort of adjusts. So just sort of keep that in mind, that if yours looks slightly different, that is the reason why. So going through here, our A value is always what is in front of the parentheses. So our A value here should be 1. Our H value is what is inside of the parentheses. And remember, we take the opposite sign. So it looks like a +4. We're going to put in a -4. And our K value is what's over here on the end. And that sign stays the same. So we have a K value of -1. Our vertex is always H, K. So our vertex in this situation is going to be -4, -1. Sorry, I'm scrolling the wrong way. Our axis of symmetry is X equals H. So whatever our H value is the same thing that we are typing in here. And then our A value determines if this opens up or down. If it's positive, it opens up. We'll put an up since A is +1. If it were to be a negative, we would put down. Okay, so number 2, our A value, which is in front of the parentheses, is a -1, right? There's really a 1 next to that negative. Our H is inside the parentheses, and we take the opposite sign, so that's a +3. And our K value is a -6. So our vertex is H, which is 3, K, which is -6. Our axis of symmetry is X equals H, so X equals 3. And because our A value is negative, this parabola is going to open down. Okay, so when we're looking at a graph, remember we need to find our vertex, our starting point. So our vertex is always H, K. And we remember we're taking the opposite sign of that. So we want a +1, +2. So we want to find a graph that has an ordered pair at +1, +2. So not there. And this one does, right? +1, +2. Keep in mind your multiple choice might be in a different order because it is shuffled. So it's not necessarily number B, right? We also need an A value, which is positive. So our A value is +1. So we need a parabola that opens up. So we know we do not want to pick C in my options. So it looks like 1, 2 opening up, right? Over 1, up 1. So this is our correct graph there. Okay, number 4, we are filling in a table, right? So to fill in this table, we always start by finding our vertex. We're finding that middle, and that's where we use the -b over 2a. So our b value here is 4, and we want to take the negative of it. So we want -4 over 2 times a, which is 1. So we want -4 divided by +2, which will give us a -2. And then we're just going to count up and down. And again, whichever way your table goes is fine, as long as we have this list. And then we're going to take our calculator, right, and we're going to plug each of these values in. So I'm going to take this 0 and I'm going to put it in for all of the x's. So I'll have 0 squared plus 4 times 0 plus 1, right? And then I'll do that with a -1. So -1 squared plus 4 times -1 plus 1. -2 squared plus 4 times -2 plus 1, right? And I'll continue that all the way up. Again, keep in mind when you're using your calculator, you can always just sort of move the cursor up and change those values. But then when we plug those into our calculator, when we plug in 0, we should be getting out a 1. And again, this is symmetric. So for the -4, when we plug that in, we better be getting out a 1 as well. If those do not match, then we did something wrong. When we plug in -1, we get out a -2. And again, when we plug in the -3, we better get the exact same thing. And when we plug in -2, we get out -3. And so you just be typing those numbers into its corresponding place over here in the table. Okay, but this is what we should have for our table. Okay, number 5, if we want the graph of this, again, we're still going to have to make a table to figure out what points we need. Now, you might be able to shortcut it a little bit. We know we need to do our negative b over 2a to find our starting point. So in this case, our b is -2. So if we want to do the negative of -2, right, we want +2 over 2 times a, and a is 1. So 2 divided by 2 is going to give us a 1. Okay, and so here are the sides of our table. Okay, and we're going to start plugging in values. Now, here's where you can shortcut it a little bit, right? If we plug this 1 in and we say 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 3, so let's see, 3, 4, 2, we'll get 1 comma 2. We also know that this parabola has an a value of 1, so we might be able to look at the choices and find a parabola that has a vertex at 1 comma 2. So if I look at over here, this is 1 comma -4, so not that one. Let's see, this is -1 +2, so not that one. This one has 1 comma 2, and this one has -1, right? So this is the only parabola that opens up with a vertex at 1 comma 2, so we don't need to finish the rest of the table to find that as our correct answer. Okay, so now we want to do writing the equation, right? To write the equation of a graph, we're going to determine if it opens up or down, and we're going to determine its vertex. So this parabola opens down, so we know we need a -1 for our A. And we know that the vertex of this parabola is the ordered pair. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, -3, -1. So our H value looks like -3, right? Our H value is -3, but when we plug it in, right, it's the opposite sign. So we need a +3 over here, and we need a -1 for our K value. Okay, so same thing for number 7. Okay, this parabola opens up, so we need an A of 1. And we know that this has a vertex at, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 comma 4. So our H value is going to be 2. This looks positive, so then what we enter is going to be negative. And our K value stays the same, so here we will get a +4. Number 8, we are just filling in the blanks of this table. Our input values are given to us. Okay, so you just need to take a calculator and replace each of those x values with its given value in the table. So we'll do 2 to the -1 plus 3, 2 to the 0 plus 3, 2 to the first plus 3, and 2 squared plus 3. Remember on your calculator to enter a unique exponent, you're using that up caret button, left of the 7 and then above the x squared. But we're just going to type each of those values in, right? So you can type in 2 and then the up caret -1 plus 3 equals, right, or whatever, and we'll get out 3.5. You can type in your answer as a fraction or a decimal. Your calculator is going to give you the decimal. It's fine with me if you type the decimal here. Okay, 2 to the 0 plus 3 is going to give us 4. Remember, anything to the 0 power is 1, so 2 to the 0 is 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Here we will get 5. And here we will get 7. So you would just type those correct values over there in that table. Number 9, we are doing the exact same thing. So we're just going to start inputting these values. So -1 minus 5. Right, we're just doing a separate one for each input value. And again, you can just use your calculator. So if you're using your calculator, right, you're going to do 2 and then parenthesis 4, close parenthesis, up caret -1 minus 5. We'll get out a 4.5. And if you want, you can then arrow up. Okay, and you can just delete out that negative and then change the 1 to a 0 or whatever you sort of prefer. 4 to the first power is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. 32 minus 5 is 27. Again, you could use your calculator for all of those, but those should be our output values there. And then number 10, same thing. You're just going to need to make a table. Again, you could shortcut this a little bit and just get a few values to sort of know what it looks like. We do know that this A value in front is negative, so we know we want an exponential that's opening down. So we can eliminate these upward options and narrow it down to both of these. We can also look and see that this doesn't have a value being added to it. Okay, so we have a B value of, or a C value, that line we can't cross of 0. So that narrows it down to here. Or you could just start going through, right, and plugging in and getting output values. Let's see, 1/2, 1. And then just plot those points, and you'll also see that that is this picture that you want selected. If you have any questions, reach out to me, email me, set up an appointment on the top of my calendar. We'll make sure we go through them and make sure that you are ready before you take the test.